Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We are live, and I am Rice.
I am the one and only Cannoli, because there can only be
And,
one.
and welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
I hope everyone's doing great today. I'm in a slightly different location because it is like 100 degrees, so like 40 degrees where I am, and I just need a
Honestly,
place where I can stay cool.
it's not a bad aesthetic behind you with all the glass. It kind of works.
Some have thought that it looks like a WeWork.
I mean, a little bit, but
Yeah.
there are worse. Imagine if I had to relocate in my house. You could look at laundry or toys on the floor or any other varietal of household items. So you have a nice, clean slate there.
That does happen once you become a parent. Your rooms start to become multi-use, and when I say multi-use, I mean your children's items start to take over your rooms.
100%. Yeah, your space is no longer yours. I was gonna say maybe you should tell people why you're in a different location.
Well, yeah, I already mentioned it's blazing hot. It's 40 degrees. You can cook an egg on a pan if you put it outside the window for 5 minutes. There is a crazy heat wave.
I can see how this would influence that decision at least a little bit. How frequent is that? Because when I think Amsterdam, I don't think 100 degrees.
This is super rare. This is the first time this has ever happened since I lived here for 5 years. We've basically broken like all the records.
Yeah, that's very odd. Is the have the meteorologists or whoever over there given any insight into like what has caused it this time around? Because
All of Europe actually. So France is also hitting 40 degrees. London is like so the UK is also like plus 38. So it's just all of Europe. Yeah.
Your Celsius measurements. We're over here in Fahrenheit land. So yeah. 38 and 40 like is 90 very plus. Hot. Yeah,
90 plus.
But that's wild.
But anyway.
It kind of reminds me of I want to say 2009. I went on vacation up to the Northwest, so like Washington, Oregon, and this was maybe June. Thinking A, had never been there at that time. B, it's a milder climate, so probably don't have to deal with the raging heat that you might find if you go to other locations. Nope, it was record heat. It was 107 in Portland when I was there.
Hot.
Yeah, but then part of the trip involved going to the coast, and it was down to a nice and cool 75. So
nice.
The ocean. Yeah, that was a shock. It was uncomfortably hot.
So yeah, I think that when it gets this hot, like the other thing is it's very humid here, so it just feels like 1,000 times hotter than what it actually is. So yeah, I just need to be in a place that has air conditioning. I feel, definitely very privileged that I actually have air conditioning in my home. It's not in every single room. So, we make do with what we got. None of my other friends actually have air conditioning. So they are just suffering in the heat.
I wish, not that the Bay Area gets hot, but I wish I had that as well over here. So maybe one day. The Bay historically has not been known for needing air conditioning unless you're more on like the East Bay outskirts, like past the mountains. Where, I guess part of the South Bay too.
Yeah,
but otherwise, San Francisco usually pretty mild. Well, aside from cooking to death,
So, what do you have going on this week, Jim?
yeah, no, I was gonna say, you know what else is cooked right now? The rear view camera in my car died this week, and it got me thinking about AI. Just kind of a
Okay.
strange analogy, but now, okay. First question: do you have a car in Amsterdam right now?
I do not. I grew up as a car guy, and I never thought that I would live life without a car. Because also, I grew up like in the west of Canada,
Yeah.
the Texas of Canada, if you will. And yeah, I moved here. I didn't buy a car, and it's one of the greatest things I've ever done.
Nice. Now, so okay, so when you were in Canada, and I think you were in California for a hot minute,
Yeah,
you had a car at some point.
I did. I had to have a car. I actually brought my car from Canada with me in the move.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you started learning to drive in the earlier years of your driving career,
Mhm.
did you learn to drive with reverse sensors, a rear view camera,
No, I
or
didn't
any
have
of
any of
that
that.
technology?
I didn't have any of that. And it was actually really funny. I went on a work trip with a colleague in the Bay Area, and like I just like backed into a spot, and I drive a manual as well, right? And she just started giggling, and I was like, "What's wrong?" She's like, "I that's just this is so incredible that someone can just do this without like backup cameras and sensors and stuff." And I'm like, "What? Are you serious?" So anyway, yeah.
You are tapping into exactly what I was thinking, because I've been driving for a long time. In fact, my car I've had for over a decade. So that could be why things are going kaput suddenly. However, the first time I started to parallel park, because I parallel park outside my house, it was a little jarring. I'm like, oh, I don't have this camera to see exactly how close I'm getting to the car
Yeah,
behind
no
me.
beep 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 beep. Beep.
Now, I will say I'm lucky, because the sound is still working. It's just the
Okay.
visuals. Right now,
Okay.
if both had gone out, dear God help me. Slightly kidding on that, because like yourself, I learned to drive when none of that existed. So
Yeah, that's another thing.
years and years of practice and muscle memory of going in reverse in a straight line, parallel parking with the good old looking over your shoulder, both directions, check the mirrors, and been doing it now for a few days, and yeah, it's like riding a bike. But if you were younger when you started learning to drive with all that technology there from the get-go, and then all that went out, how do you think they'd handle reversing and parallel parking? It'd be pretty bad, I would imagine. There'd be a lot of dings, and what's name any
Well,
cartoon where they're like trying to reverse in the same spot over and over again.
I feel like though in the Bay Area, people do that regardless of the backup cameras or not. I've seen people in San Francisco like they're like the French. They use their bumpers and they kind of push people forward. Like I saw a guy do this and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And he's like, well, that's what bumpers are for. I'm like, that's not what bumpers are for. But
Not the way they
anyway.
build cars these days. A gentle nudge is like, half your car crumples, and that's like thousands of dollars.
It's like 10 grand.
Yeah. This whole thing got me thinking about people coming into the workforce with AI already in place versus old crusty vets like us who knew a world before all of this. And
We knew a world before the internet, dude.
those are good times, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
There are some days that I kind of want to go back to that. but I like to call it the crutch factor,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to coding. In my engineering background, I mean, just having like Stack Overflow was amazing.
Yeah, that's all you had.
When
And Google.
and Google, right? But even like when I was going through college with my CE degree, I didn't have any of that. I had to learn it the old school hard way. And then practice with that. And of course, the technology would evolve as the career continues. And so fast forward to today, and what happens if Claude goes down, OpenAI goes down?
It's over.
Game over, man. You can't do anything.
Did you have to learn assembler? I did Spark.
Yes. That might have been one of my better classes, actually. I enjoyed assembly. It was
I thought it was cool. Yeah,
it was cool.
Yeah.
It was relatively easy for me to grasp as well. And it helps kind of connect, what's actually happening under the casing of your Mac Mini when you're doing stuff, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, we had to build a compiler for one of our courses. I wonder if they still do. I would have to assume they do a lot of that still, but
I don't think I had to do that.
Yeah. What degree were you?
But this is the thing. I studied finance, and I just did like computer science for fun
on the side. Okay. Hey, props to you, man. That's awesome. Where I went, the first couple classes were weeder classes. So people that came in with CS and CE degrees in mind, if they couldn't make it through like intro to Java, they're out. So the fact that you went and did a side quest with some of this stuff is kudos to you.
I was doing side quests before they were cool.
There you go. I recently learned that my university has done away with that in favor of Python, and I cried a little. It's like, no.
I mean, I guess I get it, but that's also like kind of lame.
I know it is, but I mean, if you're going to vibe code anything anyways, then what does it even matter what you choose?
Yeah, I don't know.
Your intro?
So I was talking to a younger engineer, and I don't remember what we were talking about. He was just like, "Oh no, I just vibe code everything," and I'm like, "Really, dude?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Why wouldn't you?" He's like, "It's so much more efficient or whatever." And I'm like, "I don't think so, right?" I was like, "There's some stuff that I'll just write myself because it's better." Right. Mm-hmm. In my experience, right, like the code that you get from vibe coding I don't think it's the best written code, and it makes sense, right? Because it's just the average of kind of all the aggregate data that these models have, right? So of course it's not going to give you super elegant code, right? It'll give you kind of the average code, right?
There's a few ways that it has really helped productivity. But then when you start getting outside of that realm, it's like having a really smart, hot, bipolar girlfriend that you just don't know which one you're getting in a certain day. Oh my goodness. I actually got it to, what was it, like a warning essentially that, hey, your usage of this
is too abusive.
And being too abusive. Like, are you sure that I'm the one being abusive? You're being abusive to my mental health with your stupid answers sometimes.
This stupid thing has feelings, man.
It's like
I don't think we should apologize this stuff like in this way.
Soft individual.
Yeah, you don't say. So
I know a lot of people, especially on social media, will say like, oh, this is just like the Industrial Revolution. There will be some disruption in the short term and everything will gonna get figured out. Jobs will be created, blah, 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 blah. And then you have the opposite where it's like, it's going to take all the jobs and no one's going to know how to do anything. Still don't think anybody definitively knows which way the wind is going to blow, 5-10 years from now. I do feel, though, that this is not like, I think this is vastly different than events of historical past. It's, I mean, Sam Altman himself basically said in a talk that you're outsourcing intelligence to them, which is different than, the machines of the Industrial Revolution, where it's like, okay, you made something a little physically easier to do. Those are very different paradigms.
Yeah. I have a slightly different take, I think, than you on this. I think that the technology is going to change stuff for us. I don't know. Like, I don't think it's like a, replace all humans kind of thing. Like, because if you know anything about it, and you do, right? Like, it's just a large data set, massive compute, and LLMs slapped together. So it's like a predictive word picker, right? So if we're talking about AI in its current form, I don't think it's replacing tons of humans, right? Like, I think it's a tool that's super helpful for efficiencies and all that kind of stuff, right? I can do data analysis quicker, right? Because I can kind of get it to kind of set up my spreadsheet or whatever it is that I need to do a lot faster, or even like help me write like a SQL query that, in the past maybe would have taken me like an hour or whatever. It can kind of spit something out in 5 minutes that gets me the data that I need. So I think it's very, very powerful in that way. I, however, don't think that it's going to completely replace humans, right? I get it to pull the data, but I'm still the one making the interpretation, right? That's coming up with the insight of like, hey, what's actually happening here? Because I have the context, right? Like, I understand what's going on, and I also understand nuance, right? And I think the other part that also, I think, gives me hope, I guess, right, with the future generation is you're seeing massive backlash to this tech, especially amongst new grads, right? Like, we're seeing all these people get booed if they're talking about AI. I think Gen Zs get it, right? Like, that this is kind of bullshit, right? Like, why do we go to school if this thing's going to take all our jobs, right? So
So you haven't said anything that I've necessarily disagreed with. And it's not the technology itself, and it rarely is. It's the people that are behind the technology trying to force adoption, essentially, and the intentions behind it, which are questionable on some of these
100%.
some of these areas. So that's where some of my I hate to say doomerism. That's a little strong. It's skeptical. If it's a spectrum, it's slightly negative, and yet always keeping the optimistic outlook at the end of the day. I do feel like AI has made people dumber.
Yes, 100%.
And I think that's a good segue into one of our new segments we're experimenting with.
Let's do this.
LinkedIn Lunatics review.
LinkedIn Lunatics. I can't wait.
This is something that I'm sure you surf on here from time to time, and maybe for people who aren't as familiar, on Reddit, there's a subreddit called LinkedIn Lunatics, and it basically captures all of the most unhinged, cringe-worthy posts that people decide to post on that social media platform that we all love to hate. And one that's kind of related to what we've been talking about, and then I think a couple that will tie nicely into what we're going to talk about next. But this first one just really, really proves the point that, okay, maybe you can tell me if this is stupid or if there's a different agenda. behind such a post, but somebody had posted in LinkedIn, everyone is mocking the 10 plus years of Claude Code experience in this Yahoo ad. It actually adds up. Claude Code has been out since February 2025, roughly 350 work days, run 8 agents in parallel for 8 hours on each of those days, and you're sitting on over 22,000 hours of Claude Code experience. Yahoo isn't looking for a developer, they're looking for an addict. And if you hop down into the Yahoo job description, they're looking for a senior software developer with 10 plus years of experience with Claude Code.
I think I should just apply.
Yeah, see what happens.
And see what happens.
I will say this is not the first time there have been newer technologies to come out and brain dead recruiters and companies put out these job postings where it's like, we need 5 years of, I don't know, like, man, TypeScript was the hot new thing. You need 5 years of TypeScript experience.
Yes, yeah.
Meanwhile, it's only been out for like a year and a half. I absolutely hate this.
You know who probably has 10 years? That Boris guy, the guy who invented Claude Code.
Maybe he should apply. He's the perfect candidate.
Yeah, right? He'd probably be the only person that would have the most experience, right?
Mm-hmm. Maybe maybe this explains why Yahoo is the way it is today compared to its peak many years ago. What the hell is this, man?
To buy Google, right? They had every chance to buy Google and didn't.
Holy!
But this is ridiculous.
This is. And there's several examples of this, and I just pulled up this one because
unbelievable.
it was particularly egregious. And if you go into the comments, yeah, it's having interviewed at Yahoo and witnessed their process from the inside, I have zero doubt they think you have 10 years of experience with Claude Code. And yes, the original OP is an idiot too.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's one thing for Yahoo to post this, but then to have the guy that posted that defending it, and I can't tell sometimes on this subreddit if these posts are tongue in cheek or if they're serious. I think that's what makes a great LinkedIn Lunatics candidate, is when you have those gray area ones where you're not sure if they really mean it or if they're like trolling. So I'm kind of curious, is this defensible?
This post?
Mm-hmm.
No, absolutely not. Like, I don't care if your life is busy as a recruiter or whatever, right? Like, I think this is the perfect example of what you were talking about, of like, we've gotten dumber since AI, right? Because it's very obvious that this recruiter probably just used AI to write this, right? And it's just like, oh, okay, like, what do we need? Like, we're probably going to need like a senior person, so they're going to need 10 years of experience or whatever. And they probably just pumped this into an AI, and then it just like spat it out. And this person didn't even spend the cursory 5 seconds to spot check this and be like, oh wait, does this actually make sense? But like, here's the thing, right? Like, maybe they did. Maybe they were like, oh yeah, this makes sense, right? And I think that's even worse then. I don't know what's worse. If you checked it and you're so incompetent you don't realize that like this is like a ridiculous mistake, or you didn't check it at all.
I mean, it could be, there's a lot of mandates going around, especially in bigger companies. You must use AI. You must hit these certain AI KPIs. Otherwise,
you gotta use all these tokens. You have the
token max, baby, to the moon. So maybe this poor individual that posted this was just following orders, but that goes to show the potential greater state of the job landscape and just how everything is turned to slop.
Oh my God. What are we doing?
And why is it? Like I said earlier, it's not the tool, it's everybody forcing it down everyone's throat.
Yeah.
That's where the skepticism kicks in. So what is it going to take for common sense to return? That's
dude.
I keep wondering.
I think we can go down this rabbit hole in a lot of directions, but let's move on to the next post.
The next one. This is a nice segue into our next segment. We got a lot of Elon glazers on LinkedIn, which maybe hasn't shown up directly in my feed, but now that I've been combing the subreddit a bit, interesting. Congratulations to the world's first trillionaire, Elon Musk. Elon has done more for humanity than countless millions, and we should be grateful for his contributions. However, my humorous side took over, and I thought the following. What if Elon, Bill Gates, and Jeff Bezos were out to dinner together? Elon stepped away from the table to use the restroom before the bill came. While Elon was gone, Gates said to Bezos, "Let Elon get it. He's made of money."
So funny. Wow.
Mark, why? Why, Mark? Why the hell did you post that?
Yeah, come on, Mark. I think you need to lay off the AI psychosis.
Yeah. The first comment, this is his brain working overtime? We are surrounded by overly confident imbeciles. Ooh.
That's amazing.
It gets pretty rough.
It's got almost 7,000 upvotes.
Mm-hmm. His brain is probably working overtime just writing a paragraph. Now this is
hey, I'll give him a point for not using ChatGPT for his posts, but that's it.
Well, and I suppose a brownie point for putting yourself out there, right? That's the nature of social media in general, and us even doing this podcast, just putting yourself out there, and well, you'll get the feedback happens. One way or the other.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, and some more Elon glazing, perhaps. So, for those who are listening and not watching, on the left, we have a split screen image where we have Elon holding a wrench, a big sign that says building the future, and a SpaceX rocket going up into space, and a worker working on a Tesla. On the right, we have a sign that says Professional Critics Inc. and what appears to be some basement-dwelling developers on laptops. He got lucky. Privileged billionaire. Not sustainable. And the comment of the post, Elon Musk has accomplished extraordinary things, and it's no surprise that success on that scale attracts critics. As the saying goes, the higher you rise, the more opposition you face. I have always believed that the number of enemies a person has is often directly proportional to their success.
Dude, then Hitler was so successful.
He was just a misunderstood. Rennie, he just wanted to paint, man.
Yeah, he was a painter. Oh my God. What are we talking about?
Those who spend their time criticizing success might be more successful themselves if they focused on creating rather than criticizing. Now, to be fair, that last line has some truths, so brownie point for that one. But let's check the comments.
I gotta read the comments here.
Yeah, he's not going to shag you, mate. Yeah.
He uses a wrench to motivate the workers. I love that.
It's like saying he's not going to buy you a horse. They just want him to IVF them and get the $40 million for signing the NDA. Ooh, peanut gallery is toasty in here. Yeah, damn, so man. I think this was kind of surprising when I was combing through LinkedIn Lunatics subreddit. How many Elon Musk things came up, and I guess it makes sense with the recent news of becoming a trillionaire. So, you know, I'm kind of curious, Rennie, on the topic of Elon. I'm kind of curious. I want to get into it.
Here we go. Let's do this. Let's get into it. I think that we all need to celebrate firsts, right? And, I just want to also congratulate Elon for being the first trillionaire to lose his trillionaire status. I think that is also quite an achievement that we should celebrate. Don't you think?
If you ain't first, you last. He's speed running accomplishments, everybody.
He lost his trillionaire status, I think, in just a matter of like a week or something like that. So good for him. Cheers to that. And on paper, he was a trillionaire. And I think that number is so large, it's actually not possible for us to kind of compute what that actually means, right? Because like even a million is very big. A billion is even bigger, right? So let me put it this way. 1 million seconds is 11 and a half days. 1 trillion seconds is 31,000 years. Like that's what we're talking about here, right? Like that's the scale of what a trillion is, right? So it is just this absolutely astronomically large number that we cannot really actually compute what that actually means.
Well over 50% of Americans don't even have $5,000 on buy in the case of an emergency.
Right. Like they're one problem in their house away from going bankrupt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
That is that's kind of staggering when you lay the math out like that at that granularity.
It's crazy, right? Here's the thing, right? Like this is where I think that this whole wealth accumulation is a huge problem, right? In 2020, Jeff Bezos was the richest man in the world. Okay? He had a net worth of over $100 billion. So think about this for a second. In 6 years, we had another person that now has 10x that money. And this is the problem with massive wealth accumulation, because compounding works and everything. It's insane, right? There's no way that these people can actually spend the money. And herein lies the problem, right? Let's use the $1 trillion, right? And let's say Elon gets 5% return on his money. Okay. That's $137 million per day. $95,000 per second, Jim. So there's no way
that much.
yeah, right. So there's no way on the planet this guy can spend all this money, right? There's just no way. So what does he do, right? Like obviously he's going to use this to buy assets, right? He's going to buy the homes that people need to live in, right? He might not directly buy it, but he'll invest in BlackRock or whatever it is that he's going to do, right? And I think this is where it becomes a huge problem, right? Because having a trillionaire means your kids, Jim, won't be able to afford a home. It's just impossible for your kids to ever buy a home.
Well, joke's on you. I'm going to groom them to be able to marry one of his kids. Bajinga.
There you go. There you go.
That's a joke, by the way. Yeah,
right. I mean, like
if they were grown adults
that way, I think this is the thing, right? Is that I think some people will say like, well, it doesn't matter, right? Like he can accumulate kind of as much wealth as he wants. It doesn't affect me, right? But it does, right? Because resources in the world are finite, right? Like money is infinite because you just like governments print however much money they want, right?
Bro.
But resources are finite, right? Whatever you think about it, they end up wealthy people buy politicians, right? And that's how they end up getting massive tax breaks. I think that they'll argue, right? And this is like I find this like absolutely hilarious, right? The top 1% pay 40% of the taxes. How is that fair, right? They'll state this stat, right, that the top 1% pay 40% of the taxes. And that is actually true. The top 1% does pay 40% of the taxes, but that's the top 1% of income earners. So these are your doctors, your lawyers, your engineers, right? That earn a high income. This is not the billionaires, right? These billionaires and trillionaires, right? Like they actually oftentimes earn less income than you or me, right? Like Jeff Bezos used to only pay him $80,000 a year.
And this is, I think, common even for us, right? I mean, a lot of what we're building with our startups, it's all paper, right? There's nothing realized yet. Same in many cases with their companies at a much, much, much larger scale. What's the problem with that? If it's paper, it's not actual money flowing.
Well, the problem is they then take this theoretical money, quote unquote money they have, this paper money that they have, and then they borrow against it. And that's how they make real money. That's how they have real money to buy stuff, right? And because it's a loan, they don't get taxed on it.
That's some high-level chess being played that us plebs can't get away with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the banks essentially have zero expectation that these guys will ever pay these loans back, right? They're just not paying their fair share of taxes, and they continue to accumulate wealth. And, this, like, it already is a problem.
How about the valuation? The valuation of their companies? Because I think part of the problem is how the tricks that are being played to get such astronomical valuations.
To this, yeah.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah. Because are all of these companies collectively, worth $1 trillion plus? Is that actually the case? How did they get to that number?
Well, Elon did it with magical math, right?
That's my favorite kind.
S1. Yeah, he did it with magical math, right? But your other kind of like publicly traded companies, I mean, technically are supposed to have some fundamental value to them. But it feels like to me right now the markets are completely irrational as well, right? Like that's the other thing. It's like it's completely disconnected from what the real world actually feels. And I think what's interesting there is because it's the ultra wealthy that are in the stock market right now anyway. So to them, your eggs being like $10 doesn't actually make a difference because they're accumulating so much wealth. They'll just continue to buy more assets, right? Like they'll buy stocks, they'll buy homes, they'll buy stuff, right? And that's why these prices of the stuff continues to rise. Although I guess this week has been bad.
Well, yeah. I mean, what's the quote? The markets can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent.
Exactly.
No, it's interesting because when you magical math that you referenced earlier, and I think about some of the BS that like us early startups have to deal with when it comes to laws and rules. Yeah. On like really petty, stupid stuff that shouldn't even be a thing. Well, he's out here folding companies into each other and selling one share at $50, so something's worth $500 billion.
Yeah. And he's just like artificially pumping his stock up.
For example, how familiar are you with California's AB5 law that got passed in, I think it was 2019?
I'm not familiar at all. Please educate me.
Yeah, so basically, and I'm gonna super distill this down. People can go Google it or Chat GPT it, but basically, it stemmed from the Ubers and Lyfts of the world. We have those companies classifying their drivers as independent contractors, because if they had to classify them as employees, you got to pay benefits and the whole 9 yards, which
How dare
operationally for
they?
them is not advantageous, right?
Of course.
Um, Now you can argue that, well, without the drivers, company doesn't exist. They should be given that employee status.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there for where I'm going with this, because eventually the law passed and
Okay.
it ended up hurting startups and small businesses the most, because those companies are so big, they can just do whatever tricks or pay their way through whatever hurdles come at them as a result of that. There's a whole smell test as to whether someone can be classified as an employee versus a contractor. Okay. Why the hell am I having to worry about that when we're just getting formed? Like, this was like 4 years ago, maybe. Seriously? Meanwhile, Uber continues to exist. Lyft continues to exist. But it doesn't make sense that all of us down here at the bottom trying to work our way up are playing by a completely different set of rules than an Elon, who, AB5, screw that. I'm just going to do this with my company here and do this over here. It's insane.
And might I add, he received, I think, over $32 billion in subsidies, in government subsidies and grants.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like, look at like the, during COVID times, the small business loans and all the scams that happened there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you got people out here scamming thousands and thousands of dollars who don't need the money. Not these like new fledgling businesses over here. It's clown world.
I think this is a problem that's been going on for quite a while now, right? 2008 was probably like the big thing that happened. We got to save these banks because otherwise the entire banking system will collapse. And I remember thinking, I'm just like, why should we save these banks? Right? Like, isn't it like the most kind of like business way of things to go? Like, yo, you fucked up. And these are the consequences. You go tumbling down, right? Financial systems are so tied together or whatever. And my thought was like, you know what we should do is like, we should take that money that we were going to give to these banks and actually give it to the people who are the most affected. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. If you're going to print all those dollars, well, that's subscribing to the whole, trickle down economics, which, clearly doesn't seem to be working as time
it's not working.
To go on. But I laugh anytime somebody says like, oh, looking at the current economic landscape, this is what happens with late stage capitalism. It's like, we haven't had real free market capitalism in a long time. Right. Everything is heavily manipulated at the top. And the 2008 example is the perfect one, because you're not rescuing those institutions.
Those banks would be
that's part of the system.
Here's the thing, right? Like, let's say you and I get super unlucky and our businesses go belly up. I ain't getting a bailout. Are you?
Nope. And so, I would venture to say that 99.9% of startups are also not getting a bailout.
Exactly, right? It's absurd, right? And history repeats itself, right? So I think we can also congratulate Elon for, kind of kicking off the bursting of the AI bubble as well. Because, the SpaceX IPO went live, and then shortly, I think a couple of days after that, they issued bonds at a significantly lower valuation than the 1.2 trillion dollars or whatever that they had originally said. And yeah, that started to trigger like a sell off. Here's what's crazy: when I was saying history repeats itself, remember credit default swaps? Speaking of
Uh,
2008.
we're talking like Big Short style level of explanation there. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
So people are now selling credit default swaps on SpaceX.
We love to learn from our mistakes, right?
I just don't even know what to say, right? We didn't learn anything from our mistakes, and I know how this happened, right? Obviously, because he got Trump elected, right? And when you kind of can own politicians, this stuff can kind of get through, right? His vision of the future for SpaceX is data centers in space. Why? I don't understand why, right? Like, if you want to talk about cooling or whatever, has actually launched their first underwater data center, right? That makes sense to me, right? It's on
Mm-hmm.
Earth. You put it underwater. You got cooling, right? It's free cooling, essentially, right? So like, but no, like we got to shoot them into space because reasons.
Not to mention, their open source models are slowly but surely catching up. I mean, I
So,
don't know who in their right mind would buy SpaceX stock the minute it goes IPO. Like
oh, it's
anybody
crazy.
should be able to see that there was going to be a huge downward correction pretty quickly.
And
Um,
there's going to be more because you're going to have waves and waves of these employees that are going to be able to sell and sell and sell, and they're going to sell, right? Like if I was employee number 10 at SpaceX, right? Like, bro, I'm selling, right? Like, I need money. I want to be a millionaire.
you don't want to shoot for trillionaire?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Like, I'm a modest guy. I'm a modest guy.
There you go. You
But
actually have, ethics and a life outside of trying to climb to the top.
we try. We try.
Yeah. It's interesting how this will play out, and always thinking about it through the startup lens. This will be my last question on this. Do you
Yeah.
think, depending on how SpaceX stock situation pans out or doesn't pan out, wherever it ends up landing, if the bubble bursts, how do you feel that will affect the funding landscape for startups? Because I know right now, as you know as well, that all the money is heavily in AI. But
Yep.
if the air comes out of it and you have LPs looking to put their money somewhere and have the, VCs and wherever find a home, are they pulling their money off the table because they've been burned by this AI bubble and trying to push things to ridiculous valuations? What's the next frontier? Quantum? What
I mean,
happens? That's kind of something I've been thinking about lately. That we're obviously not going to solve here, but I'm kind of curious what your gut reaction is.
there's a part of me that actually thinks this might be a huge moment in time for VCs in a very negative way, right? Like, I feel like there's so much money actually in this bubble that this could wipe a lot of people out completely. And, I think about this almost like the .com bust, right? At the kind of very beginning of the internet. And I think there will be companies that are building things with true value that solve true problems, even if they're using AI, right, to kind of solve these different problems that will actually remain. And a lot of these kind of like smoke and mirrors AI companies are actually just going to get wiped out, right? And they might have had very good salespeople, right? I think that's the thing. Like a lot of these companies, they hire extremely good salespeople who can, help them sell the dream to investors and this and that, right? We are going to see a lot of that value get wiped out, in my opinion. Don't take this as financial advice. I'm not an expert or anything like that, right?
But they get wiped out, but then all that money has to go. It went somewhere, right? So in that scenario, all that excess money that got wiped out, it doesn't just magically go away in the broader balance of the system. So it lives somewhere, and that's the question: is what happens to that allocation, that giant chunk of money that's going to get wiped out?
I think that this may cause like a fundamental shift in VCs and all that kind of stuff. And I think we're kind of seeing this too. You have a lot more bootstrapped companies that are kind of staying bootstrapped and making the choice to stay bootstrapped, right? Because I think people are kind of like, hey, like the VC game's just not for me. And I can't answer, where that money will go. Like we know it's going to get wiped out, right? And there's going to be your kind of more savvy investors, right? Your Warren Buffetts, right, who are just sitting on billions and billions worth of cash right now. And I imagine that that's where a lot of this is going to go, right? But if a VC gets wiped out and there are companies of value or whatever, right, you'll have these guys that aren't necessarily investing on hype, that has a lot of cash right now. They can kind of come in and pick up the pieces.
Well said. Yeah, very likely. Well, I think one thing that we're both trying to do when we close out these episodes, especially when we get into some of these heavier, we need a little something happy or fun or comical to end on, to leave on a good note. And I want to go back to LinkedIn Lunatics for one more minute, for one more post.
Let's do this.
Because this made me chuckle.
Send me this link.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pull this up. I love this.
Billions of dollars in VC funding, months of brand strategy workshops, the world's best designers. Why do AI company logos look like buttholes?
This is so funny. This is so funny.
It's true. Look at that.
Yeah. Like now I can never unsee this.
Mm-hmm. Do they all use like the same designer? It's pretty weird.
Dude, no, it's because AI designed these.
You think? You think these companies use their own tool to design their own logo? I mean, maybe.
This is incredible. I love this. This is awesome. This is.
Which one do you think is the most realistic representation of the butthole? I was gonna say Claude. That was my pick too.
It's awesome. Oh, this is so good.
Amazing.
Oh man. Wow. The internet never fails at this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So that's, sometimes you just have to laugh at the world.
That's all we can do, right?
That's all you can do sometimes. Keep trucking ahead.
Oh man. Keep pushing forward. Jim, you know what? It has been, and it always is, great catching up with you.
Of course, likewise.
And I am looking forward to catching up with you next week.
Maybe next week, my startup will also have a butthole logo. Maybe that's the secret sauce we've been missing.
That's all we needed. Just buttholes all around.
You never know.
Who knows? And on that note, For those of you, listening on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, if you're listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe. That really helps us a lot in the algorithms. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, share it with a friend. That also helps. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.